It's always interesting here on the show. From time to time, we feature a company and a guest who has a lot of experience in an industry, and they've done a lot of different things. There's been good times, bad times, whatever, but all along they've learned, and they continue to learn to the point that they can put together their own company within the industry that they know so much about to help fellow companies within that industry that may need a little help, may want to learn from all their experience. It's exactly where we are today. Particularly, we're going to be talking about the construction industry in a little different way than we have in the past. The name of the company is Minorea LLC, and my guest, Andrea Navarrete. Andrea, how did I do? I'm switching back to Andrea now. You doing well?
You did great.
Well, thank
Good
you.
job.
Wow. Okay. Well, hey, we're done. Thanks for being with us. No, I'm joking. It's nice to have you here today. And before we get started about where you are today with Minoria, give me a little bit of the background. I mean, you've got a pretty extensive background. Talk to me about your industry background and how you got to where you are today.
Yes. Well, I started off as any curious entrepreneur driven person, trying out my business, right? I got my degree in interior design, and due to the nature of the practice, I was heavily involved in construction. But just like a lot of entrepreneurs that have so many ideas and want to engage into so many ventures, I ended up stretching myself too thin to the point where I left behind the most important ingredients to a successful business. But off of that, I was able to learn and understand, where I fell short on, and that was the nature of wanting to assess and help other businesses avoid the consequences to trying to engage into so many ventures and losing focus of your main vision.
You know, let me slow you down here just a sec. I don't want you to beat yourself up at all. I hear the story time after time again, and there are people that do. They get into business and stretch themselves too thin, and pretty soon they're out of business. But a lot of people just curl up in the fetal position and cry. Not you. You took that as a learning experience to be able to put together your trials and tribulations to the point that you built an entire new company to help other people to avoid the pitfalls you did. Hey, we all like to be able to learn from other people's mistakes before we make them ourselves. I applaud you for doing that. So thank you for taking care of businesses out there. So let's get into it here just a little bit. Nowadays with a company, what type of organizations do you work with, and how are you able to help them?
Okay. Well, we offer outreach services to larger organizations. It can be nonprofit organizations, quasi-government, government-funded organizations, corporate companies, and of course, large contractors. And what we offer is basically helping these organizations with the communication process of doing business with diverse and disadvantaged businesses. For smaller businesses, you encounter the challenges of having to fulfill all the paperwork and the compliance requirements that larger organizations need to have in order for them to hire or award them with a project. So we want to be part of that and mentor, train them, and get them to the point where they can do business with the larger entities or the larger projects.
You know, you touched on that phrase. You were talking about compliance, and quite frankly, there's not a lot of industries out there that have to deal with compliance and governmental regulations and whatnot more than the industry you're in. So I can absolutely understand how that could be overwhelming for businesses of any size, but particularly for the ones that you work with, the ones that are frankly underserved in a lot of ways, and they don't know what they don't know. So they have to appreciate what you bring to the table, particularly switching gears here a little bit as COVID hit. You know, a lot of companies, I mean, all of us totally caught off guard, wasn't sure how to deal with it, but some companies realized there's some resources out there to help them. A lot of companies don't even know the resources are there. Is that one of the things you bring to the table to help people realize, hey, look, here's some things that can help you? Do you work with people along those lines?
Yes, definitely. Part of our outreach services is is helping them with the process of access to capital. And nowadays, with this COVID strike, there's a lot of companies that are struggling to survive and keep their doors open. So there's organizations, and of course the government is consistently providing resources and funding for these companies to stay open. So we come in and try to help these companies, but we also try to go a little more, we try to take it to another notch and help the companies and the businesses that are a little more underserved due to language barriers or culture barriers, which is the Hispanic community. And we've taken it upon ourselves to communicate and let them know that there are resources, because many small businesses or even independent contractors don't realize that there are opportunities for them to take advantage of these resources and be able to survive.
You know, I cannot even imagine the smiles that you put on people's faces where they're in these desperate times, like so many people, with tears and sleepless nights and trying to figure out how they're going to make ends meet. And then you and your company come in to let them know, wait a minute, here's some things we can do to help you out. I mean, what a good feeling that must be for you and everyone else when those meetings happen and you're able to help people save the business that they've worked so hard to help with. Tell me about just the personal feelings you get when you're able to help people that way.
Well, it's a really good feeling, just because everybody's business or someone's business is their baby. You love your business, and just with the idea and the thought that it's going to go out of business, it sort of you know, turns your world apart. So when I get to let them know that, you know, they've got, you know, we can go through the process and they can get approved for a certain amount of funding, or we can re-strategize or implement the service and the product they serve to the digital arena, I can see the light in their eyes of how this is actually going to work regardless of the situation they're facing. So it's very gratifying, and that's one of the complete purpose of why we're in business right now. And in regards of the Hispanic community, we've made it very accessible to in their language, where we just recently started a YouTube channel that's catered to help them with DIY videos of where to go, how to get access to the capital, the resources, the training, the education, and we can we can, that way we can serve in a larger volume, because obviously it does take time to sort of get them through the process, to walk them through, and if we have these recordings, they can go through the recording and do it themselves.
Well, that's just outstanding, because as I mentioned earlier, sometimes people, not just in your business, not just in your industry, but people run into situations where they don't even know what they don't know. They don't know the questions to ask. And if you can simply just start things off by saying, check out this YouTube channel, this will give you an idea of what we have, that helps. But you also offer a free assessment initially. Tell me about that real quick. I've got about a minute to go, but just that free assessment is a huge first step for everybody.
Yes. So there's certain assessments that are catered to the construction industry, just due to the demand and the so many elements that are built in within the construction industry. And then there's an assessment that's developed for businesses in general, where we can see their capacity and we can provide free resources. We can offer or suggest certain organizations that might be good organizations to work with, and we can help them identify how to go to the next level.
That's perfect. I mean, to have a free assessment to get the foot in the door, get the ball rolling, and help small businesses, that's why you're here with us today. Thank you very much for sharing your story. We appreciate all you do. Take care.